news.
Lawyers are concerned about several issues when it comes to artificial intelligence, AI, including data, privacy, compliance, and job displacement. Will AI really take jobs away from lawyers? In this special report, Bayo Olaoye addresses one of those concerns, job displacement for lawyers, as a result of the introduction of artificial intelligence. Will artificial intelligence make lawyers jobless? The short answer to that question is no. There are three reasons why AI will not take away jobs from lawyers, according to experts. First, AI systems being developed for the legal industry are primarily co-pilots. Secondly, there are numerous tasks AI simply won't do because legal implications prevent it. For example, litigation. AI cannot make court appearances unless, of course, nations radically change their constitutions to allow robot lawyers to stand in court, which is highly unlikely. Additionally, for lawyers involved in strategic work, such as security, meeting new clients and existing ones, or serving on boards, AI cannot replicate the human touch. AI lacks the commercial acumen required to build relationships with clients and navigate complex problem-solving tasks. AI cannot engage in the strategic aspects of legal work that require understanding human behavior, negotiating, and making judgment calls. According to experts, AI systems built for the legal industry are designed to function as co-pilots, helping lawyers become more efficient but still requiring human oversight. For instance, AI can draft a clause for you, but as a lawyer, you must ensure that the clause makes sense. AI can assist with tasks like legal research, drafting legal documents, contract review, and identifying red flags. However, human involvement and judgment remain essential as all systems, particularly large language models, can sometimes be confidently wrong. Despite its potential to assist in many areas, there are numerous tasks AI will not do for lawyers, either because it lacks the necessary capabilities or because it is unnecessary. Some might argue that AI makes lawyers more efficient. A law firm that would typically hire, say, 8 legal associates annually might now only need 5, using AI to assist those remaining associates. While that may be true in some cases, it does not necessarily mean lawyers are losing jobs, as AI will create new roles and open up career paths for lawyers, according to AI industry experts. For instance, AI companies build products for lawyers, require legal professionals just as much as they need AI researchers and engineers. Lawyers are domain experts who know the pinpoints and can guide the development of legal AI tools. In addition, there is a need for lawyers who will build a career in AI governance, working on AI policy auditing, AI existential skills, and AI enlightenment. In fact, lawyers will play a bigger role in AI governance than we can ever imagine. For instance, the AI alignment problem is one of the biggest challenges in the industry. There is ongoing research on whether we can solve the alignment problem using the law. As it is known, law is the most democratic aggregation of human values. How do we evaluate the ability of AI systems to follow the law? Or how do we ensure that AI systems do not misinterpret the law in case of unforeseen contingencies?
Welcome back to Just Africa. Very, very interesting conversations we're going to be having with our very, very interesting guests. I've been looking forward to this conversation with Professor Olufemi Adetunji, who is the head of Department Industrial and Systems Engineering at the University of Pretoria. I know having Prof here I already have plenty of questions I want to ask you. I'm going to take it by ways. Of course, I still have Omevi with me in the studio. I'm going to be looking at the operational efficiency for Africa's manufacturing competitiveness. How to make our manufacturing in Africa to be able to stand toe to toe, side by side with many of the industrial worlds. What do you think, Omevi?
Yes, when we talk about efficiency, people just think it just have to be a
Have the
working
structure
system,
there.
a very good structure and all that. There are other factors that you and I may not even know. And for us to be able to stand and compete with on the global stage,
Yes.
these factors have to be put in place. And to a very large extent, Africa is still lacking behind.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we are having a
This
prof.
conversation with
So
Prof,
the
yes.
prof is gonna
So, yeah, I do hope that, I mean, at the end of this conversation, we're going to be learning a lot, especially from a professor. African manufacturing faces persistent operational inefficiencies that limit productivity, reduce competitiveness, and, of course, increase costs.
Yeah.
Studies indicate that poor process flows and, of course, supply chain disruptions can resource mismanagement can cost sub-Saharan Africa manufacturers up to 20 to 30% of potential output annually, while losses in perishable goods and industrial inputs continue to hamper growth. Addressing these inefficiencies is critical for building resilient, global competitive industries. This episode explores how industrial and systems engineering can transform African manufacturing by optimizing production processes, improving supply chains, and integrating lean and sustainable practices. Welcome, Professor Adesiji. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very fine. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for having me.
You made me laugh yesterday when you said you were not a style person. I don't know what you meant by that, but I know you've got brilliant takes to give us today, Prof. But how are you doing? How's South Africa today? Hello, Prof.
Okay, so we're having...
We're still having another technical glitch again. Anyway, the objectives of today's conversation is to highlight strategies that can help us improve how our manufacturing process can be better. Because at the end of the day, I think one of the conversations I was even having off was how can we efficiently get our farmers to move whatever it is they are producing in the farmland, not just to get to the market, but to at least get to our table and make it look very still decent and get to the shelves and all that. These are systems and processes that we need to improve on. And I like the fact that Prof is here to help us entangle some of these conversations.
For a very long time now, I have been, especially waste, and I know Prof is going to talk about that. In handling waste, okay, I think Prof is here.
Hi, Prof.
Hi, good afternoon. I don't know what is going on. Somehow there seems to be a lag between us.
Well, no, we're used to it. Don't worry. It's fine. But we'll get better. It's part of the systems challenges that we're talking about anyway. How's South Africa, by the way?
South Africa is nice. It's a beautiful country. So the weather currently is very clement. We're just getting into summer.
Yeah.
So we're in spring, summer time. So it's a beautiful time to be. You can visit. The weather is good. It's not very hot. It's not very cold.
Yeah, we might definitely come. But Adi, you've been doing systems management for a long time. Please tell us, what are the lags that you've noticed that the African space has?
Yeah, I think the first thing, maybe the best place going to start is to probably put it forward that I don't even think most people understand the benefits industrial engineering brings to the table when it comes to managing production systems. Okay. Because it's one field of engineering that most people seem not to understand. Sometimes, some people will think we industrial engineers are like maybe artistic designers. Some will think, maybe industrial engineers are the ones that are involved in areas like welding and screwing. So, and it's difficult. So it's one of the first things we I will try to probably just explain to people that
Okay.
when you talk to productivity at micro level, that's actually where there are very few fields that will probably make industrial engineering better. You see, when we have students visiting our school to talk about different engineering fields, I tend to be able to say, okay, because what industrial engineers do is not what you see outside. That I know when many other engineers come out, the mechanical engineers will quickly say, we are the ones that make cars. And the electrical engineers will quickly say, no, we are the ones that make your television and all those things. So I often tell them that no, that is not how engineering works. Especially when students come from secondary school coming for career fair and all those things, that
Yeah.
no engineering field makes a thing. Engineers have to work in teams. When you look at the manufacturing environment, when you look at a car today, will you call a car in today's world an electrical machine or a mechanical machine? I say it's difficult because we probably have more electronic parts today in cars and electrical components than even some mechanical components in some instances. So it's difficult to say because, but when you look at what different fields of engineers do, industrial engineers work with design of processes. Traditionally, if you look at the history of how we started, industrial engineers are typically called productivity engineers then.
Okay.
Because if you look at the history of those that started industrial engineering, many of them didn't start out to be what they call industrial engineering today. The person considered to be the father of industrial engineering historically is Frederick Taylor, who happened to be a mechanical engineer. But if you start from the industrial engineering is one of the fields that started after industrial revolution, the first industrial revolution. And the key highlight of the first industrial revolution is that humans understand the potential of heat and
Okay.
how to get work out of heat. Because it is from that understanding that what we call engine systems was built for the first time.
Yeah.
That and that is the foundational law of what we call thermodynamics today. That we could actually get work out of heat. And it's on that subsequent things were done. So when you see the idea of creating steam engine, which although interestingly is not steam that is the main thing that causes that actually is used in the system, into what we call locomotives and all of them today, they are built around engines that are made from heat systems that can be converted into work. But what comes with that industrial revolution is the fact that traditionally you need a lot more human beings to work than you actually will need in a system like that. Because what you need maybe horses or humans to do, you can make machines to do multiple folds of that without needing such human or muscles of human or horses. And from that time, we realized that people can farm in large scale, much more than what used to be before that era, where you need a lot of people. In fact, there is a place where somebody will be laughing and say maybe that was why slave trade was necessary and why slave trade was no longer necessary. Because with the machines, you don't need so much slaves to do many of those things anymore. Because
Yeah.
Yes.
machines can do
Yes.
everything. Because machines can do everything. But what happens is as human beings solve one problem, another problem will crop up immediately. Once you start solving the problem of needing human muscles and maybe the muscles of horses and oxen to plow and grow, you realize that to manage production at that level, at that scale, where machines can just make so much of it, you start realizing you need a different paradigm of thinking. So, and that weaves into every area of the industry, including production, agriculture, transportation, and everything, until when we start moving on to what we call the second industrial revolution, where electricity came, telephone system came, and many things came, and then production, the society was designed in a different way. You could be manufacturing in a place and be maybe selling or using the products in a much further place away from where you manufacture. We need a different way to plan all those things. And that was what led to industrial engineering. In fact, at the same time, many disciplines like managing projects, having better accounting system, all of them came at about the same time that we realized we need to manage many of these things we are making at a large scale. So that was that was actually where most people trace the genesis of industrial engineering to. A good example of what was always cited was the work of Frederick Taylor, who,
Okay.
while he was in the Bethlehem Steel in the United States, was looking at how people were moving um, um, iron ingots and many of those things and coal in the manufacturing process. And he was looking at people coming with different sizes of shovel to move things. And he was asking himself that actually, can the productivity of these people be affected by the size of shovel they are using? Think about it this way. Some people will come with very big shovel. What will a big shovel do? You can carry a lot at a time,
Yeah.
but you cannot carry it too frequently.
Okay.
Then
Yes.
some people will
Yes.
come with smaller shovels. You can carry it very frequently because it's not heavy, but it cannot carry a lot at a time.
Yes. Yes.
But what you need is not the size. What you need is the volume that you are able to move. And that was a very
Okay.
smart observation. And he was saying, okay, is there a particular shovel size that makes the volume people were going to carry to be actually the biggest when you at the end of the day? Because if you come with big shovel, at a sweep, you will carry a lot, but you can't go through many laps. It's too heavy. If you come with small shovels, you can go through many laps, but you are really not carrying much. You're not carrying anything.
Yeah.
Is there a particular size that when we make people use this size, overall at the end of the day, they would have carried a lot more? And that was where he started. And he realized about 21 pound size of shovel when he started experimenting with all those combinations, that the production of Bethlehem steel, according to some record, more than doubled. In some instances, some records will say almost 4 times. And you know, this is one interesting thing. The people that were carrying the steel, the coal, the coal and the iron ingot, they have not changed. The environment under which they are working has not changed. Simply by changing the size of shovel, productivity was more like 2 to 4 times. And that was a very interesting observation that, wow, simply by changing some few parameters in the production system, we can make a lot more. And think about it. A product like steel, in most environments, except in recent times where you can have special a way of creating different um, um, types of steel, you basically from a product like steel, which we call a commodity, you don't make so much money by branding differentiation. You make a lot more money from volume. So if
Okay.
a company can actually have double or quadruple their output, you can imagine that company will be a lot better, richer, more resilient, more prepared for the future than all the ones around them. They have capacity to probably buy all the others over. And that was exactly what happened. So that became the foundation of many things that we do in industrial engineering today. Because when we talk about optimization, we are saying, is there a particular value of an item or a variable that gives us the best results in the system? That's the summary of what we call optimization. So
Okay.
essentially, industrial engineers are system optimizers. That is there a best way to design this production? Maybe is there, when you are buying something, is there a best quantity to buy? When you are scheduling job, is there a best sequence to follow? When you need to determine the order of job processing, is there a best order or sequence? And many, many things. When you are laying out a production system, is there a best layout? That is where the idea of what we call optimization comes. Because
Okay.
we're saying, okay, if you keep every other parameters constant, can you find out a way to structure this thing in such a way that the output can be made better? And that's what industrial engineers do through various techniques like use of mathematics, use of what we call process physics, and many of those things to create systems that, even with the resources you have, we can get a lot more out of the system.
All right, Prof. Thank you so much. In fact, you have given us a very deep understanding of industrial engineering. Now, coming back to this topic, talking about operational efficiency, how important is this to manufacturers for us to be able to compete on the global stage? I love the analogy of the shovel. You don't have to carry a bigger shovel. So that is like, what we are saying now is that you have to work smarter and not harder. But we need to understand the importance of this operational efficiency in the manufacturing industry.
Okay, thank you. Let me start by working harder and not smarter. We are working smarter and not harder. I actually tell people tell my students, you need to work smarter and work harder. Because the world has become super competitive.
Okay.
So, but this is the issue. If you are working harder but not smarter, you are just going to be frustrated because you will see people that are smarter and are not working as hard as you, and they will keep doing better than you. So, but when you are able to first work smarter, then you can determine the level of hard work you want to do. Because if you are just working hard in a way that is not structured, you would have done a lot, but you will still get nothing. You will still be out of the market. It's frustration. So, I am not saying we will always work very hard, but I'm saying if somebody can work very smart, but work hard while you are smart, you get a lot more out than every other person. Maybe I should just start from there. You know what? One slang we use often in my school is we will say, well, the reason why you have industrial engineering is because many times common sense is not very common.
Yeah.
We only call it common sense.
Yeah.
When you study something, you realize that, oh, why didn't I see it that way all the while?
Yeah.
Let me go back to manufacturing. You see, I like telling stories rather than writing equations.
Okay.
Especially if I'm talking to people that are not in my field, because that creates a lot more sense. Like when I gave an example of the shovel, there are underpinning mathematics that we can develop from that, because most of the things we do in optimization is balancing what we call a number of conflicting functions by choosing an appropriate, what we call decision variables. There are some decision variables that will tie some of those mathematical functions together. For instance, let me give an example. Even from the shovels case, and I will come back to manufacturing. The issue is there are two functions that are at loggerhead. The frequency of moving of your stock, and the size you are moving at a time. As you are moving large size at a time, the frequency is decreasing. As you are moving more frequently, the size is decreasing. So we have contradiction. Somebody that wants to move a lot at a time has to move more slowly. Somebody that wants to move very frequently has to move less size. Those two are contradictory. Then, usually, when you reduce that to mathematical function, you will find there is always what we call a turning point. There is a point where one cost function will dominate the other. Now, if you move too far away from where one dominates the other, you go to the extreme side where the other one now dominates very well. There is always a sweet spot where the two of them appear to cancel each other out. That is what we look for with mathematical function. And when the person first did the experiment, he didn't use mathematics, but that there is an underlying mathematics there that today we know and we can model. And that idea gets translated into so many other areas. Whether you are ordering stock, you are scheduling job, you are laying out production floor, there are always these costs that when you increase that variable, it makes one cost increase and it makes another one decrease. Think about it this way: if you are building, let's say, a storage for what you are going to sell, if you build very big storage systems, now it means you will need less transport.
Okay.
But if you build a small storage system, you will be exhausting the storage quickly. You will need to drive much more.
Yes.
There is cost of driving, there is cost of keeping stock in the storage. Now, you see, those two costs are contradictory. As you increase the volume, cost of keeping will go up, cost of driving will go down. As we decrease the volume, cost of driving will go up, cost of keeping stock will go down. So there must be a spot where there is the best thing. That's actually where the logic of mathematics comes in beautifully. Because we can now put all these things in models and say, we can locate that point and tell you this is the exact size you should build. Every other person that moves below or above it will pay much more than you do.
But
and that's the same thing when it comes to manufacturing. Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, Prof. Do you think that manufacturers understand the link between efficiency, operational efficiency, and profitability?
That's a good question. Everybody uses the slang, but not everybody understands the underlying physics. That's the issue.
Okay.
Let me say it this way: if I bring it away from industrial engineering to mechanics, we all know that when we jump out of the window, we are going down. But not everybody understands gravity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
So there are things we can see, but there is a different way to understand what is actually making it to be like that.
Yeah.
Because once you jump out of the window, what happens is gravity kicks in. Gravity acts down the earth and the earth pulls you towards itself. So people that understand how that works can now make calculation. At what speed will you go? What can we do to make sure you don't crash? How do we create a ball, maybe something that can float based on some other natural things like air, and we can create many things that can make you land gently. Now, it's still the same environment, but we're using the law of nature to design systems that can now, it will be like you are the master of what nature has. That's what engineering is about in general. It's the same thing when you see what happens in manufacturing. Everybody knows we need to be productive. Everybody knows they will say, in fact, that optimization is a word that everybody throws around. We have an optimal system. We have great optimization. But that actually in our own world where we actually do optimization, we will tell people, be careful how you use that word, except you really know what it means. Because every manufacturer knows actually that we need to find a scientific way of managing this thing. But the issue is how many people actually understand that underlying what we call process physics. So, and those comes in many ways. When you talk about manufacturing, for instance, there are so many things that once you make a decision, other things are consequential. It's like when I talked about jumping out of the window.
Yeah.
The only decision you can make is, should I jump out of the window or not? And from what level should I jump out of the window? Once you jump, the process is out of your control. Nature takes effect. It's the same thing with production systems. There are some decisions that you can make. We call them control decisions or control variables. There are some that they are out of your control. Once you make that decision, you can, the process kicks in on its own. So you live with the consequence. So that's what happens when you are now making decisions that we say, okay, what are the control parameters I have here? What are the things I can fine tune to achieve this level of goal I want to do? And those are things you now study through what we call process design. So I believe most manufacturers know that they need to be able to do better. But the question is, how many manufacturers know what they need to do to achieve that goal? That's where the question is.
Okay,
I hope I
yes,
answered
Prof, I
you.
would have loved you to answer that question right away. What do you think manufacturers, African manufacturers, need to do to help us be competitive enough on the global stage? What are those things you think manufacturers are overlooking?
Okay, there are so many things that will be tied together to say this is how we can be competitive in terms of our manufacturing system. Number one, there are environmental issues.
Okay.
Those ones might be beyond even the control of the manufacturer. For instance,
yes.
there are global environmental issues. The demand structure in the environment, the global policy driven by many countries that are together in the world.
Okay.
For instance, when one country introduces a tariff policy, it affects everybody. It affects demand. It affects many things. How do we respond? Those are policies that might not be within the control of the manufacturers. Yes. Then there are natural factors. Those are macro factors. The government is probably can support the environment in which manufacturers operate through production of basic, what we call manufacturing essentials. In logistics, some of those things are identified to be number one, energy. How does the government make energy available to those people? It affects the overall cost that the manufacturers will incur. Number two is transport. How efficient is the transport system of the country? That has nothing to do with the manufacturer. It will affect them, but they are not the cause. If you have bad roads, it will affect your this thing, but that is outside your control. Another one might be communication. How connected is the country in terms of communication network? At what cost is it made available? All those things filter back into production system, but they are out of the control of the manufacturer. Another one, for instance, is like we can keep mentioning, there are a few of them. Another one is the cost of fund. For instance, let me give you a way to explain this in a practical way. If you are in Japan and you have to borrow money at, let's say, 5% or maybe 0.5%, 1%, 1.5 or 2%.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are in America, you have to borrow at about maybe 5%. And maybe you are in South Africa, you have to borrow at maybe about 10%. And you are in Nigeria, you have to borrow at about, let's say, 15, 20%. Can you see what it means?
Yeah.
It means if I have my manufacturing company in America, all other things being equal, if we all both run our company exactly the same way, for me to be able to be more successful than you, if you can borrow fund at 5% and I have to borrow at 20%,
20%, yeah.
I must have made much more profit to cover that cost before I can say I can compete with you. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes,
So that
yes.
is only from the cost of fund. When you now look at the transport infrastructure, if there is road and everything working here, and I realize that this makes me to be able to need to pay a lot more. So that means I have to also be super productive to cover what advantage you have had because of your macro environment. All those things militate against African manufacturers because the government in most African countries have not given the manufacturers the environment that can make them to compete. That is one level of competitiveness that I say. All those are completely outside the control of this manufacturer. The ones that are within the control of the manufacturers now involve the ones I was talking about. What are your procurement policies? What are your manufacturing decision policies? What are your job scheduling policies? What are your inventory management policies? What are your labor management policies? All those ones are within their control. So it takes all of these together to determine how productive and how profitable and to an extent productive those companies are. So when we talk about being competitive at a global scale, there are things that belong to the domain of the governments of Africa. There are things that belong to the domain of people that are manufacturing. We have to look at all of them in an integrated manner. So sometimes the companies in Africa might have even done much better than some of their peers. Particularly because you might have had an advantage in terms of labor costs. But by the time you factor in all these other macro environment, they might still be uncompetitive.
Prof, I mean, I was reading somewhere and I read something about flow control. I thought maybe it means you managing, but maybe you'd explain from your own experience what flow control techniques mean and then how they can help, improve manufacturing supplies.
Okay, let me explain when it comes to manufacturing systems, what essentially goes through a manufacturing system are materials or products that flow through. Now, when we talk about physics of process, there are some issues that we call variations or variability in process. Some we have control over, some we don't have control over. Somebody manufacturing a process needs to understand one of the core areas we call variations. Because, for instance, every resource we are using to manufacture has capacity. Now, what those capacity do is the rate at which they produce creates flow of materials. When we start introducing our operations work, we say everything you have in a production environment can be categorized into two main categories. Number one, you have resources that we call transformed resources. You have resources that we call transforming resources. And that's what you see in every system, whether you are manufacturing goods or you are offering services. If you look at someone manufacturing goods, when you are, example is if you are manufacturing car, you're going to have vehicles that you are making. Those are your transformed resource. You get things like sheet metal, and many other things that you will use to transform that sheet metal into car, and many other components, all those things. Those are transformed resources. The biggest problem you have when you are looking at transformed resources is how do I make inventory decision? Because the problem with inventory is inventory has both good part and bad part. Inventory comes at cost, it is not free, and somebody has to pay for the cost. But when you manage it well, inventory makes it possible for you to respond to your customer. When you don't have stock, you are not able to respond. But at the same time, when you have too much stock, you are going to be paying for what you don't need that you are keeping. Now, that's one side. We call it transformed resources, and the biggest problem is stock. The second part of every resource you have in any production system, goods or service, is what we call transforming resource. Those are the materials that work on what you are transforming. In the manufacturing of a car, for instance, we're going to have your robots, we're going to have your storehouses, we're going to have your many, many things.
Yes.
The assembly line that is going to be moving them and all of those things. Those ones, the biggest problem you have with them is not stock, it is capacity. And those two, you can't separate them because what capacity makes is also stock. Now, when we talk about flow, all those materials are flowing through your system. In every case where you have flow and you have capacity constraints, you're also going to start having what we call use. Whether you like it or not, it's like, imagine that a number of you have to go through a place that has a restriction. If many of us have to run through the door, The door has capacity. How many people can go through the door at a time?
At a time.
When many of us are flowing through the door limits us. Then the number going out is not necessarily the number that wants to go out.
Yeah.
So all those things affect what we call flow. So once you have transforming resources, then automatically you are going to have what we call capacity constraints. All those things play together. Those are the things you put together in an integrated manner to say, at what rate should material flow? At what rate should job flow? At what rate should customer flow? When customers are flowing, how does that translate to queues? So we have what we call queuing models, simulation models that use to study how those things will emerge, because it affects how many you can make at a time. It also helps to also be able to pinpoint what we call bottleneck stages or bottleneck stations, where we tell you if you really want to improve your flow, it's not every station that you invest your money in, because there are some places that when you invest money, you don't get a return. There are places where you invest money in a manufacturing environment, you get return. For instance, a chain, we say it's as weak as the weakest point. If you want to break a chain, a smart person doesn't break the strong point of a chain, you break the weak point. And if you want to make a chain strong, you don't make a strong point stronger when there are weaker points. You first make this weaker point strong, because the weakest point is what determines whether your chain will break or not. That's one of the fundamental thinking in what we call synchronous manufacturing or theory of constraint. So all those things about flow is about materials going through the system, and how do we study how flows build up, how queues build up, how entities flow, which now affects your throughput rate, which automatically also affects your throughput cost, the unit cost of the processed product at the end of the day, and all those things are modeled. So flow in that case means how the transformed resources go through your system and how you control them.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. I mean, we're running out of time, so but I need you to touch on this. You've understudied the industrial system in Africa. What are the skill gaps that you've noticed, and what do you think, or how can maybe either governments or schools like universities can help to cover those gaps so that we can get better manufacturing industries?
Okay, maybe I will start from my field. That's why I started by saying, actually, the first thing is people don't even understand what industrial engineers do. Because by the time we understand that, we see how some small changes can make significant impact in our output when we start talking about skills. Let me start from that. Let me give you another story. If you look at what happens in Japan, after World War II, Japan was a very poor country. Their infrastructure has completely collapsed. Now, look at Japan from after the Second World War in the 1950s and now. Look at all the cars you have on the road. Can you see how many of them are Japanese cars? And you start asking yourself, what did Japan do to transform themselves between then and now? They didn't have better machines than what we have in the western part of the world. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
But what did they do? That they took over almost the whole market. It is not about the technology per se. It's about how the technology is used. That is part of what we call production control. Look at, and you can see that across many countries that are growing, that they need to pay attention not only to acquisition of technology, but how you put technology to work. That's what you design in a place like industrial engineering. Now, this is what I'm going to say. If I were to advise the government, there is a very brilliant idea that the government did in the days of people in southwestern Nigeria, in the days of very smart people like Chief Awolowo. There are things that you give to the people to do. There are some responsibilities I will advise that the government should take over from them. For instance, they started something called farm settlement. I will tell you how it works. They know it's very expensive for every small farmer in the southwestern Nigeria to buy tractors, to buy plows, mold balls, and buy all those things. What did the government do? They took over those things and absorbed them into the Ministry of Agriculture. Then they gave the people land. Then the government got those implements that are expensive, but they created a schedule where the machine can help people to work, and they can recover the money from what the people were doing. So the government can keep sustaining that system, and the people are reaping benefits. So the people don't need to own the tractor, but they could have the benefit of big farmers that own tractors. That's a very smart idea. We have many things we can do in the industry. For instance, many of those small, one of the things that have been known, that have been studied in today's world is small businesses that make economy grow fastest.
Yes.
And if you want money to quickly get to the grassroots, is money from the small businesses that get quickly to the grassroots. The government that is serious in getting people out of poverty quickly and getting them rich quickly will invest in how they can bring small business out of quickly. And part of what I will advise is that template of what do you call it now? Farm settlement structure is a beautiful thing. We can have industrial, for want of words, industrial settlement system. For instance, I will tell you some big investments that those small businesses cannot have, whether it's manufacturing or service. They can't, it's very expensive. And you need it in today's world. For instance, many of those big businesses cannot afford good enterprise systems to connect them. To buy systems like Oracle, SAP is very expensive. But you need such system to plug into the world of today and to manage your business and have a view of what is going on everywhere.
Yeah.
Nothing says the government cannot invest in that and bring those companies in. And so we take this responsibility for you. You do what you can do well. What you can do is make hair cream. Make your hair cream. We will onboard you. What you can do is make small manufacturing thing. Make it, we will onboard you, so that all those complex things that are difficult, that once you start doing it, you have to forget about what you are doing properly. We will take them away from you. Another thing is, many of those things about analyzing process, these companies cannot have the capability. Many of them cannot afford to hire an industrial engineer. It's expensive if you really get a skilled one. So what happens therefore is those are things the government can invest in and say, can we create such industrial or productivity park through which we are going to onboard many of our small businesses? And then that makes the profit of productivity to filter down to the grassroots very quickly. That would be a very smart idea.
Oh, thank you so much, Professor. I like I said, I anticipated all these nuggets. We're going to bring you back again another time because we have unfinished business. But thank you so much, Professor, for coming in today. Professor Adetunji emphasizes that Africa's industrial growth depends not only on just investments in machinery, but also in intelligent process designs, workforce, and of course, capability. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us today on Just Africa. Until next time, I will see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You must have a good day.
Bye.
Right, all right. Bye, sir.
All right, it was so much to unpack. I knew there was not much time, but anyway, we'll bring him again.
Because I really wanted to ask him about innovations and so many things when it comes to operational efficiency. Yes, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. My name is Umivi Idolo. See you next week.
And of course, till next time when we will bring you another interesting conversation to unpack so many things that will help Africa to grow. Of course, this is Just Africa, and I remain Emmanuel Amolo. Stay with us. The news is coming right up.
Wole Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of arts. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masks and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory. setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry, and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny. Today, Soyinka is celebrated not only as a literary giant, but also as a symbol of resilience and moral courage.
We're going to have increase in the number of facilities that we would visit in the year 2025 by 30%, that would have improved compliance and enhancement of data-driven decision making using data analytics, that we're going to strengthen collaboration between our partners, and we're going to have 25% increase in our compliance rates by carrying out the key strategies. We want to expand our monitoring coverage. We want to enhance our digital infrastructure by integrating a secure online pathway. We also want to include the e-learning platform and our mobile platforms on the digital infrastructure. We want to strengthen our community engagement and build capacity of both the farmer staff and our partners. We want to drive innovation and research. This year, we want to carry out research on quality of care. In doing all of this, we want to make the health facilities in Lagos safer by leveraging on technology and ensuring that all our processes are data-driven. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onoriede, Dr. Nibo Shinawo, Dr. Veronica Iwayemi, and Dr. Abiola Idowu. Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, the Honorable Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Salako. Taking us further in a comparative study, I want to especially welcome a professor, a consultant medical parasitologist at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. He coordinates the International Malaria Microscopy, RDT Quality Assurance Center, as well as the country's World Health Organization malaria specimen collection sites in the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together for Professor Wellington Oyibo for the very short comparative study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, Executive Governor of Lagos State, the Honorable Minister of Health, here represented here by the Minister of State of Health. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, this is historic for us. This is a path we have planned, prayed for, and we are happy that this is happening. Mr. Governor, thank you for all you and for making this happen myself. I'm so happy and grateful to the Honorable Commissioner of Health. He has told the story. So I'm going to build on those stories as I make this presentation. We don't have much time. And part of the whole thing is the advances that Lagos State has made for over 2 decades. The world is hearing it, and the signature of this project through the impact project itself. which is calibrated around the impacts that this project will be again for Lagos States. My slide, please. So what we know about malaria, in the 15th century, why was it called malaria? It was called malaria because the cause of that fever illness was not known. And it was connected to marshy waters. So malaria in Greek is foul. And that was all they could do. And it took some another 100 years before it was connected to mosquito bites. And today we are talking about fever and say all fevers are malaria. So are we going to the 15th century? And this is what we're trying to really unbundle in Lagos. It's still over 15 million people. My slides. So if fever is still malaria, we go back to the 15th century. And then, of course, for evidence base, meant that we will have to quickly provide the evidence. Can I have the slide up? Yes. So the horrible complaint, let me just pull it out from here. So I've given this background. Most health workers will not accept the test results when it's negative. And that's the challenge. Next slide, please. Okay, and if you don't have data, which we are talking about digitization, you cannot calibrate where you are. And so if you look at the entire program and the plan of different projects, is to see that real-time data is available and that tests are done. And when the test is done, we can say quickly, cost-effectively, this is where we are. Because you can get the rely on routine data. The country do not have quality data, and that's the challenge. Next slide. So low confidence in the test. Basic things are being used. Lagos is making progress. How do we handle this? 94 to 96% of the reporting for malaria in the DHIS that categorizes states and Nigeria comes from the primary healthcare center, and this from the public sector. It's important to recognize this. Next slide. I will bring in this on board because we provide the quality platform for quality diagnosis at the College of Medicine. Next slide. And we do all of this carefully to ensure that these tests are good to be used for humans. Next slide. And what is known? Please just keep on going on the slide because I'll just go through them. There are changes in Nigeria in terms of malaria epidemiology. Next slide. And then we see from the 2021 malaria indicator survey where Lagos is next one. And you can see where we are here at 2.6%. Hopeful. And next slide. Good progress. And we're talking about the path for pre-elimination. We have that path. And we are happy that this is being mentioned here today, and like I said, this signature, and in line with the stratification strategy and subnational tailoring by WHO. So we are quite on course on this. Next slide. And then you can see the different tests available. You can keep on hitting enter. You have microscopy that is powered by a human being. And then you have this rapid diagnostic test that is technology. But somehow, we refuse to accept technology and we stay with humans, with all the challenges. So that's what you see with microscopy. Just keep on pressing enter and all of this. And this is the test 15 minutes, the result is out. The other one will take any time. It will be 1 day. And then based on that, we have done the scoping assessment of facility in Lagos.
Recent times, cosmetic clinics. So we're finding it difficult. We have limited capacity to ensure monitoring of these facilities. We also have inefficient manual processes because our digital platform is unable to carry out some of the processes in the is we're sitting on a lot of data in the agency.
With AI to make sure that the test is actually having the results that the pharmacy or PPMD says it does. We then verify that the treatment, the appropriate treatment. And then in the impact program, we to the public health system for malaria-negative patients to ensure that they're getting the proper diagnosis that they need and have a better understanding of what other febrile illnesses patients might have. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so I'll just talk briefly about all of the other partners that are working on this as well. So we are working closely, of course, with the Lagos State Ministry of Health, which envisioned this work and brought us in to support on this, with NMEP, which is overseeing the work and providing technical oversight, with WHO, which is providing, again, technical support and facilitation, and then importantly with our private sector partners as well, so PCN, which is doing quite a bit of the regulatory oversight and ensuring the quality of care in a pharmacy setting, with SFH, which is enabling the supply chain, and then of course with LASHMA, which is to go quickly into the final results on why this is improved quality of care. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So the work is providing network expansion, innovative financing, integrated health systems, supply chain resilience, comparative research, and regulatory reform, leveraging all of these different partners that we've mentioned to ensure that patients are able to access quality care and that the data is being provided back to Lagos State to help improve regulatory support, policy, and other things. I've mentioned the partners that we have here already, but we're very grateful for all of the work that they are providing to ensure that there's quality of care in the private sector. And then finally, one final slide. To reinforce what Dr. Wellington said earlier, the work that is being done is also to be supporting with testing, understanding the difference between rapid tests and microscopy, to support on policy reform to ensure that rapid tests are always done before treatment for malaria in Lagos State. Thank you all so much, and we're very excited to be a part of this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica Vernon, the CEO, Meds. Ladies and gentlemen, taking us further, Nina Ogunlafo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Your Excellency, sir. We're very happy that this is happening today. So just permit me to do something unique in terms of our focus for malaria control in Nigeria. To do this, I will call on Dr. Dao, Country Director for Volta. We're going to have the Honorable Minister interested for malaria. Okay, Honorable Minister, please. Thank you very much. This is showcasing the main focus for malaria control in Nigeria, which we refer to as the 3 T's. Your Excellency, the first T stands for tests. We cannot overemphasize or we cannot underscore the importance of that. The second T, sir, is for treatment. have them seated again. So can I have Dr. Walter on stage to come and quality check what is happening, sir, please? Thank you very much.
We are witnessing leadership by example. Leadership by example by Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, as well as the Honorable Minister of State for Health, Dr. Salako. Please, let's appreciate them. That is the way to go for every one of us all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. So again, this is the way to go for malaria control program in Nigeria. The pre-elimination in Nigeria could commence in phases. We could commence pre-elimination in Nigeria in phases. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Thank you. So back to the fourth bullet on my slide. Your Excellencies, pre-elimination in Nigeria could be commenced in phases. It could start with the states, Lagos State, for example, and we could go geopolitical zones. So I was sitting with my sister, the Commissioner of Health from Ogun State. So the fever for pre-elimination have started. So I also want to say that it stands on Lagos State to make sure that this pathway for pre-elimination is properly done. The National Malaria Elimination Program is waiting to take the experiences and the processes that Lagos will use to achieve elimination to be replicated in other states. Your Excellencies, it's important to note that right now we have a couple of states under 10% prevalence in the country, and those states are Anambra, Kwara, and Rivers States. So what is happening in Lagos that has been flagged off today, it's like NMEP, it's poised to take what these processes and experiences are to states like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. Let's appreciate her. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Governor, sir, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, who has been ably represented here today by the Honorable Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako. A round of applause for him, please.
Your Excellency, the excellent Governor of the Center of Excellence, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. I must recognize my brother, who is the one who has summoned all of us here today, the Honorable Commissioner for Health for Lagos State. All members of the Lagos State Cabinet here present, our partners, WHO, World Bank, distinguished stakeholders in the health sector, gentlemen of the press. Because of time, let me say all protocols to be extended. We cannot keep the governor for malaria alone. He has to attend to water, to road, to several other things. So I will shorten my speech, but I must say that today I'm wearing two caps. You may not see it physically. standing in for myself and also standing in for my brother, the coordinating minister for health and social welfare, Professor Party, who is unable to attend because of other assignments. I am most delighted to be at this auspicious occasion of the launch of the Pathway to Malaria Pre-Elimination and Digitization Program in the Center of Excellence, Lagos State, led by His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I recall that Lagos State pioneered intensive malaria case management in the early 2000s through the Eco-Free Malaria Initiative under the leadership of now our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then Governor. I am most delighted to be here today to be part of another pioneer initiative now under Governor Babatunde Sanwo-Olu as Lagos State takes the lead in the agenda to end malaria by 2030. Your Excellency, the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare is elated with this giant stride, which aims to improve malaria diagnosis, case management, and accurate tracking of cases through the integration of digital health solutions in the form of real-time electronic reporting systems, all targeted at further reduction in the burden of malaria and its eventual elimination from our land. This momentous project will not only set the track for malaria pre-elimination in Lagos State, but in Nigeria at large, thereby once again making Lagos State a trailblazer. I want to emphasize that this project is in line with the renewable agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the renewed vigor for the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare on the rethinking malaria concept that was launched in April 2024 and is aimed at fast-tracking the malaria elimination goal through strategic shifts. We have continued to make progress in this regard, and the inauguration of the advisory on malaria elimination in Nigeria, AMEN, the development of pragmatic costed plan of action, the expansion of permanent healthcare facilities, training of frontline health workers, and the initiation of domestication of affordable medicine facilities for malaria to make malaria treatment more affordable are all testament to the progress we are making. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry is taking these steps in order to reverse the undesirable trend of being the highest burden malaria endemic country globally, accounting for 37% and 31% of cases and deaths respectively. I am confident that the Lagos State possesses the needed attributes that can help drive Nigeria to malaria elimination through such case-setting initiatives like this program. Furthermore, Lagos has been consistently the lowest malaria prevalence state in Nigeria, as evident from all the malaria indicator survey conducted in the country, with the most recent result in 2021 showing 2% prevalence, hence indicating a tendency of attaining pre-elimination when concerted and concentrated efforts are put in place. I wish to report that the challenge of let me use this opportunity to call on all stakeholders not to relent on their support towards this impactful intervention, which will contribute significantly to the drive at eliminating malaria from the world. Nigeria is ever committed to this drive and will continue to toe the path of global best practices. I wish to assure all Nigerians and our partners that the change in the policy of the United States government with respect to global health funding will not adversely affect our malaria elimination programs and other public health initiatives, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR has approved a robust mechanism to ensure adequate and cost-effective funding for our public health programs. I call on all state governments to join hands with the federal government to ensure that our country becomes self-sustaining in the funding of our public health programs. Before I end this address, let me commend once again and appreciate His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and his health team, led by Professor Akin Abayomi, for initiating and executing this laudable innovative project. I wish to also sincerely appreciate all the partners, World Bank, WHO, all the implementers, especially for providing the needed human resources, technical support, and the funding for the implementation of this initiative. I wish all of us a successful launch of this impactful project as a springboard for the elimination of malaria from our country. Thank you, and God bless the federal government.
Distinguished invited guests, Your Excellencies, Honorable Minister of State, have your results. Pleased to say that Honorable Minister of State, we will not be confining you in a bed in Lagos. Your result is negative. When patients go to clinics and the doctors tell you that they've performed a test, it is your responsibility as a patient to see the test. Please ask for the test and take a picture of it and have a record on your phone. My governor, the excellent Excellency of Lagos State, I'm pleased to tell you that you may continue with your duties. Congratulations, sir. Negative, in line with the low prevalence of malaria in Lagos as well. Chart, of course. Thank you very much for your support, both the Honorable Minister and our Governor and members of the Lagos State Executive Council. Mr. Governor, if you would like to approach the podium to give your keynote and to launch a pathway to malaria elimination in Lagos.
Practitioner himself and a strong politician, Dr. Thank you very much for finding out. Members of the State Executive Council, especially Professor Akin Abayomi, and Special Advisor on Health. Thank you very much. Other cabinet members, all the permanent secretaries in the Health Ministry, and several of you that are here. Thank you very much for taking our time. The country director for the World Bank, Dr. Diop, the country representative for the WHO, Dr. Walter, all of our partners that are here, MyShamed, Impact, SFH, the National Malaria Organization, our friends from our neighboring state, the Honorable Commissioner for Health in Ogun State, thank you. All of our health practitioners, stakeholders that are here, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. When you are asked to come forward and conduct a test that you did not psych yourself for, what will happen is you quickly your brain will raise back and say, have I been feeling unwell? What is going to happen? It just brought us back 5 years during COVID, and they said that they're going to do a COVID test. It was like, the heart was going to open and you don't know what will be the outcome. But you see, it's an important activity that we need to continue to subject ourselves to. You might think it's a simple thing, but it's so important. And that ability for you to come forward, if it has turned positive, what it will have just meant is that we need to make a treatment. It's not a death penalty, but it's really just for all of us to know that we need to do this thing and we need to be able to come forward transparently at all times and let us end all of these things that we don't want again in our sight. Thank you very much. And so it's an honor that I stand before all of you all of you in this room are very strategic to launch the first in the country, another Lagos first, the pathway to malaria pre-elimination and digitalization program. We're here to affirm our commitment to safeguarding lives and the livelihood of every Lagosian. Malaria is more than a disease. It's a socio-economic burden that has held back individuals, it has held back families and communities for such a long time. It robs us of our productivity, it drains us of our household incomes. And for many households in Lagos, especially those modest earners, malaria, the name it alone, brings shivers. It reduces their earning and reduces their ability to continue to earn more for their family. And so this financial strain often affects families and a lot of times causes heartbreaks and the rest of it. But we're here to put a stop or to even bring a voice to the step at which we want to eliminate that completely. It has affected school children from going to school, it has affected businesses, it has seen a whole lot of absenteeism and a lot of challenges in our society for several decades. But today, we have to change all of that narrative. The eradication of malaria is not just a good health news, it is indeed an economic imperative. It's a good news that all of us must beat our chest and be able to carry, if there's a pin, that we need to have a pre-elimination, the campaign for it. We need to have it and we need to be able to dot it everywhere. We know from statistics how much malaria has cost our GDP, billions and billions of dollars. Imagine what Lagos could achieve with a lot of resources if we're able to eliminate all of this. We no longer have to choose between survival and opportunity. Imagine a Lagos where every child can attend school uninterrupted because of ill health, or an adult can contribute fully to the economy. And one thing that is instructive was the demonstration of the slide by Professor Akiambam, and I saw others as well. I can see that Prof already has a side job in animation and cartooning. It's a job that he can conveniently retire into. And the narratives were very clear. But the message was very, very transparently done. And all of us, in one form or the other, are guilty of this. You feel unwell, you think you have a fever, the next thing is you are diagnosing yourself with malaria. Very easy. Just give me injection. Just give me this tablet. I know what it is. We are all, self-diagnosing ourselves and self-telling ourselves that that is what it can only be and that is what it is. So just give us. But we can see that with knowledge and with communication, a lot of all of those negative things you can rewrite them. And so this program represents a hope rooted on innovation, collaboration, and determination by leveraging digital tools that will ensure that every malaria case is tracked in real time. This is digital. Long are those days when you need to take a whole full blood from your body to just do a simple malaria test. I was asking for my bottle of Mortina because those days when they take your blood test, they must replenish it with a bottle of Mortina. But you can see that with just a small prick, and in no time you can actually. That's what digital life, has done. And so it has helped us by strengthening partnership with the private sector. We will expand access for quality care. It will help communities to have the knowledge and resources. It will build a culture of preventing that leaves no one behind. And that's a message we need to come out of from here. All of us sitting in this room must immediately turn ourselves into an advocate, into a cheerleader, to be able to carry this message forward, to be able to tell everybody that needs to know. Go into our communities, pass on this message that this pre-elimination launch program has started, and it's for all of us to see it, to buy into it, and to work with it. The benefit of eradicating malaria goes beyond just health. In malaria-free Lagos, and indeed in future, in malaria-free Nigeria, is achievable in our time. and we've all put our minds to it. It's something that could be done. We believe that if we can eliminate it, it will increase productivity, it will improve educational outcomes for our children, it will reduce considerably our health costs. It would also enhance quality of life. I mean, all of these points speaks to a better livability standards, in all indices. And so this vision, though ambitious, I believe is achievable. It requires, therefore, all of us, government agencies, healthcare practitioners, healthcare providers, community leaders, development partners, and indeed all citizens to work together with an unwavering resolve. Success will not come overnight, but will be sustained effort and collaborative action. We will prevail. You saw the slides that Farmer and Dr. the lady on malaria and the lady on immunization. You saw the statistics between January and February, what the run rate should be. Yes, we will say that, this is just March, but we need to be able to double those numbers. We need to push those numbers to be able to achieve the 2025. We need to be able to push and achieve, because there is no magic to it. If your target is 2 million and at the end of February we are still doing less than 200,000, we are doing far, far less. So you need to double, your spike shoots. You need to work harder, twice as fast, twice as much for you to achieve the 2025 record. And Doctor told us, Prof told us from WHO that it's 2025. They are going to close the envelope. Hello? Yes, they said they are going to close it. And there's a 20, where is it? I thought it was, they're going to close it. Our target is that we'll have to take that $20 million. We'll have to do everything to make sure that we'll meet the criteria very, very quickly. Because if it's something that we've all said we want to do, then everybody must be on the same page. I want to commend the farmer and all the ladies that came forward transparently to show us those data. And what we need to do is we don't need to wait in October before we now cry. We need to be able to track this thing on a month-on-month basis. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank our partners, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the National Malaria Elimination Program. Our community pharmacists are here. All of our pharmaceutical associations are here. Thank you very much. Our various private and public hospitals, and all of you that are here for your valuable support and making this initiative possible. Of course, permit me to thank in absentia our very hardworking Honorable Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Al-Pate. Our best regards and our best wishes to him. We know all of the things that he has brought about in his tenure as the Honorable Minister of Health. We wish him well. We are also tracking and monitoring, all of his deliverables so that we can say at the end of the day, in your time, you did all of this. And to also thank the Honorable Minister of State for cooperating and operations with the Honorable Minister. We believe that if you do all of these things and you do them well, your time, your time in that ministry will be written in gold, and Nigerians will forever be grateful, because we know that you are pushing everything to ensure that we save over 1 million lives, and you're doing so many things, so many big health initiatives. I want to wish you well. To Dr. Diop, our country director for the World Bank, thank you for your invaluable support at all times, funding your technical assistance. We believe it will continue to catalyze our health initiative. To our country director on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Uche, whose organization's investment has been pivotal to malaria control. We say a big thank you. Dr. Walter, our WHO country representative, we believe that your expertise and advocacy capacity has helped us to push this forward. Thank you very, very much. To all of our partners, Marshall, who I met last week, I did promise, I said I'll be here in person. And to all of our other partners, please, let's see this as a start to work. It's only when we achieve what we have said for ourselves that we have done the job. They don't pay people for attempts. They pay people for results. And it's the result that is important. It's the result that takes us to that final breathing point in which we all can say that yes, we've done our best, we've contributed what we've needed, and we've seen the results. I believe that we have everything to make it work. We believe we have all it takes to eliminate, malaria completely in Lagos State. I want to congratulate our own Ministry of Health. Congratulating ourselves is telling you that you have a lot more to do, Prof, and all of you. But I will be watching, and I will do everything to continue to encourage you. And as a demonstration of that encouragement, I was whispering to Prof that I will also do something different. I will be promoting Dr. Idu as a permanent secretary. Clapping means that she's going to work twice as much. To my fellow Lagosians, fight belongs to each of us. Let us embrace a preventive measure like eliminating mosquitoes, adapt, test before treatment. And I think that is the message we need to take away. All of our pharmaceutical establishments ensure that we can pass this message. Test before treatment. It is so important that we do not just take this for granted. Let us ensure that we can take this advocacy into our communities, into our nooks and crannies, and show truly that once we have started this campaign in Lagos, go around every part of the city. We can rewrite the history of malaria in Lagos, and it is in our hand. It's all of us in this room that can help. I want to wish you all the very best, and I believe that when we work together, there's absolutely nothing that we cannot achieve together. Thank you very much.
Mr. Governor, sir, may I plead your indulgence, Councillor.
I really didn't like her. She was frowning her face one day. It was between her eye and her eye. This pre-examination launch of malaria from Lagos State. Pathway to Malaria Pre-Admission and Sterilization Program in Lagos. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Governor, sir, may I crave your indulgence to quickly invite this Honorable Commissioner for Health, Special Advisor on Health and Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, to join you for the first photo op.
we are done, also we are inviting all the permanent secretaries in Lagos State to join the executive governor, actors from the Federal Ministry of Health, all the directors that have accompanied the Minister of State for Health, all the directors in the Federal Ministry.
The world of business is one filled with men and women willing to dine with risk. And when we seek African business shapers, we see individuals who have denied self to build conglomerates. From controlling over 90% of diesel trade in Nigeria, to almost throwing in the towel, then getting on the Forbes list, we present Olufemi Peter Otedola. The Nigerian businessman and philanthropist was born in Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, on the 4th of November, 1962, into the family of late Sir Michael Otedola, the governor of Lagos State from 1992 to 1993. The University of Lagos Staff School, Akuka, welcomed Olufemi for his primary education and secondary education at Olivet Baptist High School, Oyo. Olufemi proceeded to Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife, for his first degree, graduated and joined the family printing press business, working hard and gaining experience. Femi Otedola ventured out starting Center Force Limited. The company focused on finance, investment, and trading. The oil and gas sector was Femi Otedola's next port of call. From quite a very humble beginning in the oil and gas sector, utilizing connections and networks of family and friends, he cultivated partnerships in diesel supply chain, him being the last man to the final consumer. Challenges breed opportunities, and in Femi's case, it was a late delivery of diesel from his supplier with a broken truck, and he caught the idea. He could do better and provide better services. He ventured into diesel supply business, buying diesel from a retailer and supplying to companies. Femi Otedola encountered several difficulties securing his supply and timely meeting the demands of his growing clients. This definitely was an opportunity he identified in the fuel retail market. Otedola secured the finance, and Zenon Petroleum and Gas Limited was born, petroleum products marketing and distribution company. Otedola, owner and chairman of Zenon, in 2004 invested 15 billion naira in downstream infrastructure development and acquired storage depots at Ibadan, Apapa, as well as 4 cargo vessels, amounting to a combined total storage capacity of 147,000 metric tons. Zenon Petroleum and Gas Limited also acquired a fleet of 100 DAF fuel tanker trucks. By 2005, Zenon controlled a major share of the Nigerian diesel market, supplying fuel to most of the major manufacturers in the country, including Dangote Group, Cadbury, Coca-Cola, Nigerian Breweries, MTN, Unilever, Nestle, and Guinness. Zenon Petroleum and Gas was the name on major invoices, and Femi Otedola the name on every lips, playing toe-to-toe with major multinationals. Zenon, in a very short period, silenced the competition and almost unilaterally determined the price of diesel in Nigeria. the competitors came to Zenon for supply. Femi Otedola, with the massive success Zenon Petroleum and Gas achieved, bought a 28.7% stake in African Petroleum. Otedola branched into the financial sector and aggressively stocked up the shares of leading financial houses. He became a top shareholder in Zenith Bank, United Bank for Africa, and the largest importer of diesel in Nigeria. He acquired major shares of Africa's Finance Corporation, Mobile Oil Nigeria Limited, Chevron Texaco, and Visa Phone. Otedola has his hands deep in real estate investments, including an acquisition in February 2007 by Zenon of Stalin House in Victoria Island, Lagos from the federal government. Lagos, London, Dubai, Monaco all have the signatures of FO Property Limited. He was appointed chairman of the Transcorp Hilton Hotel Abuja and tasked with driving its expansion and upgraded to a 7-star facility. Otedola has served as a member of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council since 2004. Was appointed by President Goodluck Jonathan to Nigeria's National Economic Management Team. Otedola is chief executive and president of the Seaforth Shipping Company Limited and was at one point Nigeria's largest ship owner after extending control over the distribution of diesel products. One of his ships, a flat-bottom bunker vessel with a storage capacity of 16,000 metric tons, was the first of its kind in Africa. In January 2006, Otedola was appointed a non-executive director of Transnational Corporation of Nigeria PLC, a multi-sectoral conglomerate established in 2004 by then President Olusegun Obasanjo to respond to market opportunities requiring heavy capital investment in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. He held this post until February 2011. Otedola was appointed chairman and chief executive of African Petroleum in 2007 through the acquisition of controlling stake in the business. Following Otedola's entry into the company, African Petroleum's share price rose sharply, increasing the market capitalization from 36 billion to 217 billion naira in 6 months. In March 2009, Otedola became the second Nigerian after Aliko Dangote to appear on the Forbes list of dollar-denominated billionaires with an estimated net worth of $1.2 billion. Otedola announced the move to upgrade African Petroleum's liquefied petroleum gas storage terminals in Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt in October 2009. Harsh economic conditions necessitated by the slump in the oil prices and credit squeeze of 2008-09 led African Petroleum to record a loss in 2009. With the world oil price crash came difficult moments for Zenon and Otedola. He was very close to complete bankruptcy.
I said to myself, I was not going to have friends and enemies. I was going to have only competitors. I had 2 options: commit suicide or weather the storm.
African Petroleum, rebranded in December 2010, changed its name to Fort Oil PLC. Otedola paid his near $1 billion debt and invested in the financial industry, making him a top shareholder in Zenith Bank and United Bank for Africa. Otedola restructured the business, focusing on technology and improved corporate governance, and in 2012, Fort Oil returned to profit. Otedola financed 57% of Fort Oil subsidiary, Amperion Limited, which acquired the 414 megawatt Girigu power plant for $232 million in 2013. Fort Oil improved financial position and diversification into power generation resulted in a 1,321% rise in its share price. The first half of 2014 saw the company's pre-tax profit more than double year on year to 4.1 billion naira. Revenue growth for the whole year was 33%. Fort Oil sold 70% of its equity to Swiss commodity trader Mercuria Energy Group in September 2015, giving Fort access to global commodity markets. The deal was thought to have given Otedola an estimated $200 million. In 2019, Femi Otedola sold Fort Oil PLC and announced plans to change focus from oil to power with his company, Girigu Power PLC. Girigu Power PLC became the first power generation company to list on Nigerian Stock Exchange, demonstrating to stakeholders in the sector how they can fix financing and make profits sustainably. The company's market capitalization is now 726.75 billion naira, and the share price now 290.7 naira from the 2.5 billion shares that were listed at 100 naira each. Otedola, the chairman of Geregu Power, sold down a Geregu stake to bring on institutional investors. In October 2021, Femi Otedola was announced as the single largest shareholder of First Bank PLC. FBN Holdings, the parent company of First Bank Limited, witnessed a commendable 437.9 billion naira surge in market capitalization. FBN Holdings appointed billionaire Femi Otedola as the new chairman of its board of directors, effective January 31st, 2024. Femi Otedola has had its share of controversies. Zeno was among the number of companies named in an alleged fuel subsidy scam report. This was followed by a case against Farouk Lawan for bribery. Otedola has also lost in the ever-evolving competing space of business acquisitions. Transcorp and Huheli Power Plant are two notable projects he closely bidded and lost. Femi Otedola philanthropy is quite remarkable. Otedola made a 300 million naira donation to the completion of the National Ecumenical Center in Abuja. In 2007, he gave 200 million to the State Security Trust Fund in a drive to reduce crime in Lagos. Donated 100 million naira to the Otedola College of Primary Education in Egbe. In 2008, he donated 80 million to the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Port Harcourt. Femi Otedola pledged and redeemed $25,000 to the Super Eagles in the match against Algeria in 2019 AFCON. He gave all 750 students of Augustine University 1 million naira each. Femi Otedola sits comfortably on the Forbes billionaires list of top 20 richest people in Africa. Femi Otedola is married to Mrs. Nana Otedola and have 4 children: Olawumi Christy Tolani, Florence Ifeoluwa, Elizabeth Temi, and Fewa Otedola. Olufemi Peter Otedola is a standout astute business executive.
Traffic regulations are practices put in place in both developed and underdeveloped countries. They are designed to ensure the safety of all road users, reduce accidents, and promote orderly movement. Either you are a driver or a passenger, every road user is required to understand and follow these laws. Under obligations, drivers must possess a valid driver's license issued by the authorized body. In Nigeria, this is the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC.
Individual, like I've just said, most Nigerians, as we know, celebrate their date of birth. And as such,
Hello and welcome to World News on Silk News Television. I am Olumide Shokoya. Let's begin with today's top stories. Budget report says 30 Nigerian states remain heavily dependent on federal allocations to fund their operations. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria cries out over unsold inventory to the tune of 1.04 trillion naira in the first half of 2025. Central Bank of Botswana raises main interest rate by 160 basis points to 3.5% in response to tightening liquidity. Donald Trump cancels planned summit with Vladimir Putin over Russia's uncompromising position in Ukraine war. And in sport news, Barcelona eyes Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen as a potential replacement for veteran forward Robert Lewandowski. The 10th edition of the Budget State of State report has shown that more than 30 Nigerian states remain heavily dependent on federal allocations to fund their operations, raising concern over long-term fiscal sustainability. The report, titled A Decade of Subnational Fiscal Analysis, Growth, Decline and Middling Performance, was unveiled on Tuesday in Abuja. Budget, a civic tech group focused on fiscal transparency, said the findings reflect a troubling trend of poor revenue generation at the state level. Speaking on Wednesday, a budget executive noted that at least 30 states, including Lagos, Ogun, and Enugu, relied on FAAC for more than 60% of the recurrent revenue. Lagos, he added, remains an outliner with a significantly higher internally generated revenue. The federal government has secured nearly $500 million in partnership with state governors and private investors to establish solar manufacturing plants across Nigeria. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu has revealed. Speaking at the Nigeria Energy Conference in Lagos, Adelabu said the initiative followed the recently concluded Nigerian Renewable Energy Innovation Forum hosted by Rural Electrification Agency. He noted that the investment would inject close to 4 gigawatts of solar manufacturing capacity annually, nearly 80% of the Nigeria's total power generation. The minister also announced a significant milestone in the country's renewable energy journey, the commencement of solar panel exports to Ghana, showcasing Nigeria's emerging role in clean energy technology across the West African region. Now, President of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, has dismissed suggestions that he should acquire any of Nigeria's dormant government-owned refineries, choosing instead to focus on expanding its $20 billion refinery in Lekki, Lagos. Speaking to journalists on Sunday, Dangote announced plans to increase the facility's capacity from 650,000 barrels per day to 1.4 million barrels per day over the next 3 years. He said the goal is to make it the largest refinery in the world, positioning Nigeria as a major global player in refined petroleum product. Responding to questions on why he isn't considering any of the non-functional refineries managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Dangote said his presence is to build a new, efficient infrastructure rather than rehabilitate outdated assets. The federal government has launched the Nigerian Postal Service NIPOS automated payment solution to ease custom payments and reduce delays for inbound international delivery items. Unveiled on Thursday in Abuja, the platform aims to eliminate long queues, boost transparency, and simplify payment processes for individuals and businesses involved in cross-border trade. Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, described the system as a model of modern governance, leveraging technology and partnerships to improve public service delivery. The initiative is part of NIPO's wider transformation agenda. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has revealed the value of unsold inventory in the manufacturing sector rose sharply to 1.04 trillion naira in the first half of 2025, marking a 16.05% increase from 896.2 billion naira recorded in the second half of 2024. Describing the situation as alarming, the association attributed the surge to low government patronage of locally manufactured goods and continued macroeconomic challenges that are hampering industrial productivity. The figures were presented in Lagos on Tuesday by the MAN's Director General, Segun Ajayi Kadir, and the Director of Research and Economic Policy, Dr. Oluwasegun Oshigipe, during the release of the fourth quarter 2025 Manufacturers CEO Confidence Index and the 2025 MAN Think Tank Report. Now, the Director General of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, Adewale Smart Oyerinde, has reaffirmed the association's commitment to work with the federal government and stakeholders to implement migration reforms that promote dignity, economic growth, and lawful enterprise. Speaking at the Stakeholder Sensitization Workshop on Expatriate Quota Reform, New Visa Regime and Post-Amnesty Program in Kano, Oyerinde noted that migration, when properly managed, can serve as a strategic tool for national development. He stressed the need for collaboration among public and private sector actors to ensure that Nigeria's migration policies align with global best practices while safeguarding national interest. According to him, NECA remains fully committed to fostering an economy where the rule of law, enterprise, and equal opportunity thrive. He added that a modern responsive migration framework is critical for attracting investment, closing technical skill gaps, and creating jobs. The Controller General of Nigeria Customs, NCS, Adewale Adeniyi, has reaffirmed the agency's commitment to deepening its partnership with the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, to tackle human trafficking and illicit trade in endangered species. Adeniyi made this known during a courtesy visit by a NAPTIP delegation to Custom House in Matama, Abuja. He praised the agency's dedication to its mandate and expressed optimism that closer interagency collaboration would yield greater results in curbing transnational crimes. He assured the NAPTIP team of Customs' continued support, noting that both agencies share a responsibility to protect vulnerable populations and uphold national and international laws. Still to come in the news, Kenya struggles to maintain year-on-year inflation at 4.6% in October amid macroeconomic challenges. We're going to a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring the rest of the stories. Please stay tuned.
Muhammad Yunus was born on the 28th of June 1940 in the village of Batwa, Chittagong, a British Indian colony which is currently known as Bangladesh. He attended Lama Bazar Primary and Secondary School in his village and passed the matriculation examination into Chittagong Collegiate School, where he ranked 16th out of 39,000 students. After his graduation in 1961, Yunus joined the Bureau of Economics as a research assistant and was later appointed lecturer of economics at the Chittagong College. During that time, he also set up a profitable packaging factory on the side. In 1965, he received a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, where he obtained his PhD in economics from the Vanderbilt University Graduate Program in Economic Development. Between 1969 and 1972, after his keen education excellence of apex heights and proportions in the United States, he returned home and was appointed professor of economics at the University of Chittagong. He was eventually appointed onto the board of directors to the United Nations Foundation, where he served for 33 years. When Bangladesh suffered a famine in 1974, Yunus felt he had to do something for the very poor. In his country, he founded the Grameen Bank. His motivation was to create economic and social development for the very poor, giving long-term loans to those who wanted to start small enterprises to pay back when they can. The aim to help was to get many of them out of poverty. For this, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. Muhammad Yunus is a recipient of numerous international awards for his ideas and endeavors, including the Humanitarian Award in 1993, World Food Prize in 1994, Independence Day Award in 1987, Bangladesh's highest award, the King Hussein Humanitarian Leadership Award in 2000. He was also awarded the Volvo Environment Prize in 2003, Nikkei Asia Prize for Regional Growth in 2004, Franklin D. Roosevelt Freedom Award in 2006, as well as the Seoul Peace Prize in the same year. All humans are born entrepreneurs, he would always fondly say. His heart showed through his everyday life.
My name is Shino Ogbadegeshin. I'm the CEO of Gozi Micro Insurance. Continue to watch Souk News.
Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souk News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch Souk News TV.
Hey everyone, Majuli Obaje here representing Gigi. Keep watching Souk News, okay? Stay updated with Souk News.
My name is Arton Keme. I am the head of MSME Banking. Please keep watching Souk News and stay glued to Souk News.
I recommend that more and more people should watch Souk News because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souk News.
Welcome back to the World News. Botswana's central bank has raised its main interest rate by 160 basis points to 3.5% in response to tightening liquidity and rising market lending rates. The move aims to align official borrowing costs with commercial market trends amid mounting fiscal pressure caused by slow economic growth and reduced diamond exports. The Bank of Botswana explained that the decision was necessary to strengthen monetary policy transmission and restore balance in the credit market economic contraction driven by weak global diamond demand and increased government borrowing, which has strained liquidity across the banking sector, prompting lenders to raise lending rates. Governor Cornelius Decob said the banks have been instructed not to raise their prime lending rate further as the country battles rising inflation, which stood at 3.7% in September. The central bank projects inflation to average 5.9% next year as the economy gradually adjusts to ongoing fiscal and external challenges. Kenya's year-on-year inflation remained unchanged at 4.6% in October. According to the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, the steady figure mirrors that of September, reflecting stable prices in essential commodities such as food and transport on a month-to-month basis. Inflation stood at 0.2%, indicating limited price pressure across consumer goods and services. The government continues to target an inflation range between 2.5 and 7.5% over the medium term. Analysts say the stability highlights effectiveness of ongoing monetary measures aimed at supporting economic recovery while maintaining price balance. Earlier this month, the Central Bank of Kenya reduced its benchmark lending rate from 9.5% to 9.25%, signaling confidence in the economy's resilience. Policymakers noted that with inflation well within the target range, there is scope for further reason to stimulate private sector growth and consumer spending. Now, India's equity market is heading for its best performance since March as optimism over strong corporate earnings and renewed foreign investment drives investor confidence. The benchmark 90-50 slipped slightly into by 0.9% to close at 25,804 points, while the Sensex fell by 0.05% to 84,355 points. Despite the dip, both indexes have gained about 5% in October, staying within 2% of their record highs from September. Analysts attribute the rally to robust profit growth across several major firms and increasing foreign inflows of 3 months of outflows. Data from the country's security depository shows that international investors purchased Indian shares worth nearly $2 billion in October, reflecting renewed trust in the economy's long-term growth prospects. The small cap and mid cap sectors each gained 0.2%, adding to the market's resilience. Strong quarterly earnings from major companies further bolstered sentiment within firms in real estate, manufacturing, consumer goods posting double-digit growth. Experts say India's consistent economic momentum and easing inflation pressures could sustain investor confidence into the year's final quarter. Taiwan's economy recorded stronger than expected growth in third quarter of 2025, driven by rising global demand for advanced semiconductor chips and artificial intelligence technologies. The country's gross domestic product grew by 7.64% between July and September, marking the second consecutive quarter of rapid expansion. Now, according to the National Statistics Bureau, the robust performance and second fastest growth in 4 years surpassed the economy's projection of 6.25%. Taiwan's growing influence in the global semiconductor value chain, led by major technology manufacturers, continues to position it as a key driver of digital transformation and innovation worldwide. Economists believe the strong economic momentum will boost industrial output, export, performance, and domestic investment in emerging technologies, with global artificial intelligence adoption accelerating. Taiwan is expected to strengthen its role as a cornerstone of global technology, manufacturing, and sustainable economic development. The Philippines has expressed a strong desire to deepen its military collaboration with the United States to strengthen regional stability and address mutual security challenges. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. emphasized the need for enhanced coordination between both nations as part of efforts to maintain peace and safeguard shared interest in the Indo-Pacific region. Teodoro made the statement in Kuala Lumpur following a meeting with United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, where discussions centered on building a more strategic and forward-looking defense partnership. Both sides acknowledged that closer cooperation would improve maritime security, intelligence sharing, and joint military readiness. The Philippines' call for stronger ties aligns with its broader commitment to promoting peace, ensuring freedom of navigation, and protecting economic development in Southeast Asia. A renewed defense cooperation is expected to boost investment in defense technology, infrastructure, and regional stability initiatives. China's manufacturing sector recorded its longest slowdown in almost a decade, underscoring mounting pressures on industrial output and domestic demand. The official manufacturing purchase managers index dropped to 49 in October, signaling the weakest activity levels in 6 months as global trade tensions and internal market uncertainty dampened production growth. The decline in factory activity has renewed concerns over China's economic resilience, with new orders falling sharply amid reduced import. We'll take a short break and we'll be back.
When Emeka talks about black gold, he isn't referring to oil. He buys it in sacks, not barrels. He sells it from a metal shack to customers in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Charcoal is big business in Africa. He says there's enough money in the charcoal trade to make the wealthy envious in several African countries. Charcoal has fueled Africa's urbanization. It is energy dense and difficult to regulate, much like the cities it powers. Despite concerns about pollution, deforestation, and illicit money flows, charcoal remains indispensable. In this special report, written by Bayo Olaoye, he explored the value of Africa's charcoal economy, estimated to be worth billions of dollars, and assesses its viability. Nearly 200 million Africans cook primarily with charcoal, including 27% of urban dwellers. That share has grown since 1960, replacing much of its previous reliance on firewood. If there's been an African energy transition, it has been from one type of wood fuel to another. Charcoal's appeal lies in its convenience. By weight, it contains nearly twice as much energy as the wood it's derived from, making it easier to transport and ideal for megacities with fragile infrastructure. In Kinshasa,